Hi everyone, this is Mercedes from Mercedes Strip. I have been an exotic dancer for over a decade and a travel dancer for over 3 years. On this channel, I'm sharing my unhinged thoughts and tips and stories related to travel dancing, being a veteran exotic dancer over the age of 40, and also being a European dancer across the USA. This is my first actual video on this channel. If you want to check out more content regarding my thoughts on exotic dancing, make sure to check my socials. You find the link both to my Instagram and to my TikTok, where I'm sharing content much more often, in the description below. Today, I'm going to talk about what is travel dancing and what are the hidden costs of travel dancing. So first of all, let's talk about what travel dancing means under the umbrella of exotic dancing. Because if you are a civil person who haven't been an exotic dancer, stripper, or you don't really know the industry, you might think, oh, are you dancing with a troupe? Are you an actual performer dancing in theaters and then you're traveling with that? No, this is not that type of topic. I have been an exotic dancer for over 10 years, and the travel dancing that I'm talking about is only related to dancing in a club, and that's it. Also, another important attributes of travel dancing that no one is paying for my expenses. I can go travel dance in a club for a shorter time, which could be a weekend, a week, or 2 weeks, or I can be there for a longer time, which could be months. So there is not really definition of how long this should be, but of you have to front your expenses when you travel dancing for sure. So that's a very important attribute of travel dancing. You have to pay for your hotel, your lodging, your flights, your gas costs, whatever cost comes up because you're traveling to a different city or state to perform exotic dancing in a club, you're gonna have to face that, very likely. Unless the club has a special accommodation where you can accommodate you for a much cheaper price. Sometimes that's the case. Most places where I travel, this is not the case. I have to pay my hotels. Now that we know what travel dancing means under the umbrella of exotic dancing, now we can talk about what are really the hidden costs of exotic dancing. Before I really talk about some of the difficulties that come with it, let's talk about the positives as well. So when you start with exotic dancing in general or travel dancing and you have never done this ever in your life, it absolutely sounds exciting, right? Let's suppose that you had like a regular job, you live from paycheck to paycheck. How exciting is that? Going into a field where you can make a lot of money on some very lucrative nights, and you can travel at the same time and see some beautiful places in the US. Yes, this excitement is real and it's there. But let me unfold what are the real costs of travel dancing. And I'm going to get first of all, I'm going to have a sip of my tea, because drinking some warm tea helps to keep my throat healthy. And then also on my other phone, I have some notes that I put together where I kind of summarized all of these things that you have to know about if you want to start travel dancing. So the excitement of trying a new place out, packing your bag, going on the airport, or getting into the car is absolutely there. Another positive thing that is there with travel dancing, that you become more adaptable, because the more places you go, the more clubs you try out, the more management styles dancer styles, customer styles you see, the more adaptable you can become at your actual home club in your home city. So that's another positive. But let's talk about what are the real costs. There are usually two ways of doing it. Some girls do travel dancing with another travel dancer buddy. I'm not really doing that. I usually travel dance on my own. Also, I'm not a fan of Airbnb because I don't, my experience with Airbnb for the most part, and that's why I like to book hotels, and I'm just using booking.com because it's very likely that the person who you're renting the apartment from might be very close to you, kind of want to be in your business, know more about you. I'm not comfortable with that. I know if I book a hotel, no one is likely gonna ask what the heck I'm doing there, and I'm much more happy with that. So I'm very likely that I personally gonna prefer a hotel over an Airbnb. But then the problems with hotels that they typically don't have a kitchen, right? And when you don't have a kitchen, you don't have that much variety of making food. Yes, luckily, or in most cases, hotels gonna have a fridge and a microwave, but that's about it. You still don't have a lot of options because you cannot boil food, you cannot use an oven, especially not being able to boil. That is more difficult, and just not having that space where you can prepare your food. So there is definitely a hidden cost. And yes, you might be able to bring an air fryer. You might be able to bring like a mini stove or something if the hotel approves that. But because not every hotel is going to be okay with that. The hotel living is definitely one hidden cost or one issue that comes with travel dancing, especially if you travel dance for a longer term, like I'm talking about 2+ weeks. And I kind of mentioned that when I talked about the kitchen, but food is a real challenge. Having a variety of food is a real challenge if you don't have a kitchen. And then the number 3 thing, especially if you travel dancing in a smaller city, it's very likely that if you live in a hotel, you may bump into some of the customers who you met at the club. Right now, I'm dancing in a smaller city, and it happened quite a few times that I saw a customer in the actual hotel where I stayed who was in the club. He recognized me and he wanted to have access to me, and it didn't make me feel comfortable. So this is something, and then you have to set boundaries, obviously, with that person. But this is an uncomfortable situation that can come up, especially if you travel dancing in a smaller city and you happen to be in a hotel where the customer might happen to be as well. So another thing is finding a good gym. I don't think that's the biggest issue because some hotels have a good gym, but some hotels don't have a good gym. And then you have to think about finding a gym, especially if you're there for weeks. Next hidden cost of travel dancing is getting sick. So when you're getting sick away from home, that could be an issue, especially if your health insurance isn't approved in the city where you travel dancing at. I had first-hand experience with that. When I had a health insurance card, I showed up at the urgent care. I was under the impression that they accept it, but they didn't accept it. And of course, I only found that out months after my visit when they were trying to charge me. So that's also another thing that you have to think about, what you're gonna do if you get sick. What is your plan if you travel dancing somewhere, you get sick? You definitely need to figure out if your health insurance card accepted, and if it doesn't, then it might cost you. Finances, expenses. Obviously, if you're comparing the expenses when you travel dancing and you have to pay twice, minimum twice, your actual living cost that you would pay because of your apartment. Plus, not only that, the traveling cost. What I mean by that is getting to the city, paying for flight, paying extra for gas. Those extra costs are definitely something that is a hidden, literally, cost of travel dancing. Uh, so what I think is the city that you travel dancing at better be a very good spot, because you have to think about double your income compared to your actual city minimum. Otherwise, do not travel dance there. Do not book a hotel there for a longer time, because it's not going to worth it. And then the last hidden cost, actually, I'm going to say two more hidden costs. It's going to be an extra. Being the new girl, there's going to be a spot where you're going to be a new girl again, and then you have to learn the rules, you have to learn the power dynamics there. There probably is going to be some sort of power dynamics because you're the new girl, and then you have to adapt with that, and you have to figure out how you're going to set boundaries with that, considering the fact that you're also a new girl. So that's a difficulty for me as well when it comes to travel dancing at a new spot. And then the last difficulty that I'm going to mention, there might be some cultural differences as well in the city where you're traveling to. So for example, I live in Southern California. The situation culturally there is very different from Idaho, and you have to think about that as well when you travel to a new place, like how much you can align yourself. Can you align yourself with the people in that new place? That's something that you have to keep in mind as well. So these are my very unhinged thoughts on travel dancing and the hidden costs of travel dancing. And I will do my best to come out with a video in 2 weeks. 2 per month is what I can do for now. Make sure you guys subscribe to get notified about the next video. Don't miss that. And check out my Instagram, check out my TikTok, where I post much more often. See you soon.